I quit ironing my husband's work shirts after 4 years of him never once saying thanks. So for some context, my husband Dan wears dress shirts to work every single day. He's in sales, client-facing, needs to look put together. I get it. And early on in our marriage, I just kind of took it on. I had an iron, I had a board, I'd do mine on Sunday nights anyway, so I just started doing his too. 5 shirts, sometimes 6 if he had a big week coming up. That's a full hour of my Sunday evening every week for 4 years. I never asked him to thank me. I'm not someone who needs a parade, but like at some point you'd think it would just come up. Even once. Even just a casual, hey, thanks for always doing these. Nothing. Not a word. Not ever. I started noticing it more seriously about a year ago. I'd be standing there with the iron going on a Sunday night and he'd walk past on his way to the couch and just not even look at me. Not registering that I was doing something. Just existing in the same space while I worked. I mentioned it to my friend Carla and she said, does he even know you do them? And I thought that was a joke at first, but then I started wondering. Like, does he think shirts just come back from the dry cleaner pressed? We don't use a dry cleaner. Does he think they iron themselves? I honestly had no idea what he thought. So about 3 months ago, I decided to just no announcement, no conversation, no big speech. I just did my own shirts on Sunday and left his in the closet. Monday morning, he got up and pulled out a shirt and put it on, and I watched him from the bathroom doorway, and I thought, okay, this is it. He's going to notice the wrinkles. He looked in the mirror, adjusted his collar, and left for work. I thought maybe he'd say something when he got home. He didn't. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, same thing. By Friday, I was genuinely baffled. The shirts weren't subtly wrinkled. They were visibly, obviously, not ironed wrinkled. The kind of wrinkled where if I'd seen someone at a work event dressed like that, I'd have assumed they'd slept in their car. I mentioned it to Carla again, and she asked if any of his coworkers had said anything. I had no idea, but I started paying attention to how he left the house, and it was pretty clear he either couldn't tell the difference or didn't care. This went on for 2 months. 2 months. Then a few weeks ago, we had dinner at his parents' place. His mom, Ellen, is the kind of woman who notices everything. She noticed a chip in their baseboards. She definitely notices clothing. We were barely through the door when she looked at Dan and said, honey, did something happen to your iron? And Dan looked down at himself like he was noticing the shirt for the first time. He actually pulled at the front of it a little and said, what do you mean? She said, your shirt is a wrinkled mess. I can see it from here. He looked at me, and I don't know what expression was on my face exactly, but it must have said something because his eyes kind of shifted and then he looked back at his mom and said, I've been getting dressed in a hurry. Ellen said, well, bring them over sometime. I'll press them for you. And I said without even really planning to, I'm sure you would. Ellen looked at me. Dan looked at me. There was this moment where I think they were both waiting for me to say something else. I didn't. On the drive home, Dan said, have you stopped doing my shirts? I said, yeah, about 2 months ago. He was quiet for a second, and then he said, why? I said, you never said thank you. Not once in 4 years. Not even once. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, I didn't realize you wanted me to. And I said, I didn't want you to because I asked. I just thought at some point it might occur to you on your own. He said he was sorry and that he hadn't been thinking. I said, I know. He asked if I'd start again. I said, when I feel like it. He's been ironing his own shirts for 3 weeks. He texted me last Tuesday from the laundry room at 10 p.m. How do you get the collar to lie flat? I sent him a YouTube link.